If any of you have watched any of my videos, there's a good chance you realise that I spend my time navigating between Brittany and the Périgord region of France, aka the Dordogne. And if you have watched a few more, there's probably a good chance that you actually realise I'm not a great fan of new builds. Saying that though, on my travels there is one thing that's even stood out to me, is that there isn't one set of rules in France. When it comes to building plots, for example, there is a definite difference between Brittany and the Nouvelle-Aquitaine. In the Nouvelle-Aquitaine, or certainly in the Dordogne region where I am today, there is a great difference. I'm here in the village of La Bachelerie, which is in central Dordogne, let's say. And in a typical housing estate for this area, as you can see, this is relatively new. There's a few new buildings still going up. But the houses, they have space. They breathe. You can actually spread out and do your thing. Okay, I'm not a great fan of this architecture, but the fact is, you can actually have your space. Look at this house here we came up to. Separate building, double garage. The house is relatively new, it's not even finished yet by the looks of it. And average plot size around here, I was looking at, is around 1,500 metres square in the villages itself. That relates to about a good 1/3 of an acre, which is a standard size here. Some are bigger, some are even smaller. I get very much the impression around here it is a case of how much land do you want. And there's actually quite an interesting plot here above the village, looking right out over the valley. This could be really nice. I'm not sure there's any plots left in this particular village here, but wherever you are, there are spots like this in the Périgord region. Absolutely glorious here. There are even housing estates in open countryside here. So you can still buy a plot in the nature and with hopefully great views over the countryside to build a new house. The actual freedom down here of the choice of the plot is actually, well, coming from Brittany, quite surprising.
C'était le bon temps dans le palais d'antan, on allait danser toute la soirée. La valse musette, des balades au canal en revenant du bal pour voir un godet dans un petit troquet.
And now for something completely different.
So now we are in Brittany. Same country, same laws, different interpretations. As you can see here, we're in the commune of Mauriac, and the actual plots here are a lot tighter, they're a lot smaller. Average size around here, or these days, is about 500 to 700 metres square maximum. All to do with the actual regional laws. In Brittany, there are no longer any rural building plots being validated. If you are lucky enough to find one, which are getting rarer and rarer, then you are very lucky. Most of them are in villages, and even in the most rural villages, the actual plot sizes are still very much restrained by the regional interpretations of the national laws. So even in the sticks, the building plots will still be probably only about 700 metres square. So if you're looking for if you're thinking about buying a property in France, or in particular a building plot to build your dream home, if you are looking for a big plot, well, Brittany isn't necessarily the place. And before you ask the question, no, you can't buy 2 plots and build 1 house. It is 1 plot per house. So, as you can see here, that old English metaphor of asking neighbours to pass the sugar, well, in Brittany, it can very much be the case. And I think it's probably due to Brittany's interpretation of the laws that I don't actually like new houses. Because me personally, I don't like being crammed in. If you look at these 2 here, 2 independent houses, their garages don't touch, but they're so close they can't even paint the wall. And everyone's fighting to put up fences in order to get some sort of privacy. Thus, each region translates it to fit their needs, which is not necessarily the buyer's needs, but it's their needs. Each region applies the actual laws differently according to how they see the effects on the environment, on the ecology, on the biodiversity, and not forgetting local economics. The main concern at the moment for most mayors, wherever they be, is what the French call bétonisation, which basically means the actual concretisation, which basically translates as all the buildings, road structures, etc. being amplified as new builds are being built. In some regions, the actual choice is to actually accumulate all the building plots in one grouped area with minimal sized gardens, minimal roads, and keeping it all linked to the local village. Then other regions, well, basically they will open it right up and prefer having the actual houses dotted around the countryside, and everyone is responsible for their own connections as such. Across France, plots are generally getting smaller. Just each region has its own idea what small is, I suppose. Planning decisions are made locally, but they are based on the regional interpretations of the national laws. Brittany's model isn't a random interpretation, it is done for reasons. It's done to protect the actual agricultural land, which Brittany's principal business is agriculture, so that's understandable. It's also to make the villages more viable by having a local infrastructure. It reduces costs because it actually concentrates the infrastructure and thus makes the communes more viable. From a planning perspective, it is very coherent. For a private person who's looking to buy a nice plot of land, well, it seems like a pain in the neck. So when any of you ask the question, why can I build this there but not here? It's not a case of inconsistency, it's just a case of regional interpretation. Here comes a load of cars and a tractor by the sounds of it. And to finish this properly, let's close where we started, in the Dordogne. Here in Dordogne, rural construction is still possible in certain communes, but it doesn't mean it's automatic. You still need correct zoning, suitable access, connectability to services, and obviously a drainage system being approved. This isn't freedom versus restriction. It's more of a case of open interpretation of the laws by the different regions. France does operate under one rule book, but everyone reads it differently. And because of that, the same project that could be acceptable here in the Dordogne, for example, might not be accepted elsewhere. Understanding the difference earlier on is what saves you time, money and frustration from the offset. So if you are thinking about buying a property in France, admittedly we're not the greatest purveyors of building plots because most of them these days are just in the communal lots. But if you're looking for any other sort of property, just scan the QR code or click on the link in the description. That'll take you through to a form, fill it out and answer a few questions, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I'm Dan Newton, the French estate agent. À bientôt.